Welcome to the Aced It podcast, where we turn science into sense. This is the 14th season of Aced It, and we are so incredibly grateful that we are able to deliver rich scientific content to you in a usable and understandable way. Aced It is brought to you via the Justice Community Overdose Innovation Network, or JCOIN. If you're new to Aced It, welcome. We're so glad you're here. And check out the prior seasons to begin or continue your learning journey. A special thank you to every wonderful listener. We promise we will continue working to help you learn and grow via Aced It. Also, a quick plug for a few other JCOIN features. Did you know you can get technical assistance for your organization from the experts at JCOIN? And did you know you can apply for a small research grant to help fund an innovative study idea? Yep, through JCOIN. And did you know you can apply to be a JCOIN LEAP scholar or investigator, a year-long mentorship that will improve your skills? Also through, you got it, JCOIN. If any or all of these exciting offerings sound interesting, check out our website, JCOIN-CTC.org, and learn about the many JCOIN courses, products, and opportunities beyond Aced It, all designed to translate science into sense for you. With that, I am honored that you're with us. I'm Danielle Rudes, your host, and this is Aced It. Welcome to episode 6 of season 14 of the Aced It podcast, about the stories we tell about drugs and overdose. This season, we're exploring the narratives told about drugs and overdose, who gets to tell them, and the narratives they choose to spread. Ultimately, these narratives shape stigma, guide policy responses, and affect access to treatment. Today, we're going to talk about public and governmental campaigns. In this episode, we'll examine how these campaigns attempt to educate the public, reduce stigma, and influence behavior, as well as the ways they can unintentionally reinforce inequality or fear. By looking at a range of strategies, from empathy-based storytelling to shock tactics and large-scale media initiatives, we'll explore what these campaigns reveal about how society understands addiction, responsibility, and recovery. Let's get into it. Public campaigns are one of the most visible ways societies respond to drug use and overdose. They appear on billboards, television, social media feeds, buses, radio stations, and public service announcements, often framed as efforts to educate the public and save lives. But these campaigns do more than share information. They construct powerful stories about who uses drugs, why overdose happens, and what kind of responses are considered appropriate. In doing so, they shape public attitudes, political priorities, and everyday interactions with people who use drugs. Many contemporary campaigns aim to reduce stigma by humanizing drug use and promoting harm reduction. According to Ferrugia and colleagues' 2022, initiatives built around lived experience narratives, such as interviews with people who have witnessed or survived overdose, can increase knowledge about interventions like naloxone and challenge stereotypes about people who use opioids. These stories often emphasize care, community responsibility, and the social context surrounding overdose, rather than framing drug use as individual moral failure. By presenting overdose as a preventable event rather than an inevitable tragedy, such campaigns attempt to shift public perception toward compassion and practical action. However, even well-intentioned campaigns are shaped by politics, funding priorities, and assumptions about what messages will resonate with audiences. A study by Gretto, 2023, analyzed British Columbia's, quote, Stop Overdose, unquote, campaign, and found that although the initiative sought to reduce stigma, it predominantly featured white, middle-class individuals. This framing may make drug use appear relatable to mainstream audiences, but it can also obscure the experiences of marginalized populations, particularly racialized communities, people living in poverty, and those experiencing homelessness, who often face the highest overdose risk. When campaigns emphasize that addiction can happen to anyone, they may inadvertently individualize the crisis while diverting attention from structural factors such as criminalization, housing instability, and unequal access to care. Research from Canada echoes these concerns. According to Neufeld, 2023, anti-stigma campaigns frequently portray sympathetic victims of addiction, while sidelining people who do not fit that image, usually those of certain populations. Participants in these studies expressed mixed reactions. Some felt the campaigns reduced stigma directed at them, while others felt misrepresented or excluded. Thus, campaigns may unintentionally suggest that some lives are more worthy of compassion than others. At the same time, many governmental campaigns focus on behavior change as well as perception change. Communication initiatives linked to the Healing Communities study aim to reduce overdose deaths by increasing demand for evidence-based practices such as naloxone distribution and medications for opioid use disorder, according to a study by Lefebvre and colleagues, 2020. These campaigns use social marketing techniques, including identifying target audiences, tailoring messages, and providing clear calls to action, because awareness alone rarely changes behavior. Overdose risk is shaped by complex social conditions, so messaging is most effective when paired with accessible services and supportive policies. Community involvement is often crucial to this process. Participatory approaches allow local stakeholders to shape campaign content based on norms, language, and barriers specific to their communities. This can increase credibility and relevance, but also reveals how public messaging emerges from negotiation among stakeholders with competing priorities and constraints. Not all campaigns rely on empathy or education, however. Some attempt to shock audiences into awareness through graphic imagery or fear-based messaging. In one 2023 study by Parent and colleagues, exposure to photographs of overdose scenes shared by police departments actually made participants less willing to help people with substance use problems. Rather than increasing compassion, such imagery may reinforce beliefs that addiction reflects personal weakness or irresponsibility, ultimately undermining public support and bystander intervention. These findings align with broader critiques of traditional anti-drug messaging, which has historically emphasized catastrophic consequences rather than underlying causes or solutions. Fear-based campaigns may be memorable, but they often fail to reduce substance use and can perpetuate stigma by portraying people who use drugs as deviant, dangerous, or morally deficient. In contrast, some campaigns focus on equipping the public to respond effectively to overdose rather than trying to prevent drug use altogether. According to a study by Sumnall and colleagues, 2024, a national media initiative promoting take-home naloxone increased knowledge about overdose signs and treatment, especially when delivered through engaging formats such as videos. Yet, improved knowledge did not translate into greater willingness to intervene during an overdose, highlighting how structural barriers can prevent action even when people know what to do. Other initiatives explicitly frame addiction as a treatable health condition. In West Virginia, a community-wide campaign built around the message, quote, "addiction is treatable," unquote, used billboards, digital advertising, radio, and social media to shift public perception. According to Welch and colleagues, 2025, exposure to the campaign improved attitudes such as hope for recovery and trust in people with substance use disorder, although overall stigma levels did not significantly decline. These findings suggest that broad public messaging may need to be targeted and sustained to produce meaningful change. Large-scale digital campaigns have also shown mixed but promising results. Whipple and colleagues' 2025 study is important here. A statewide social media initiative sharing educational content and recovery stories reduced people's desire for social distance from individuals with opioid use disorder and increased confidence in treatment effectiveness. However, the campaign did not significantly change deeper general beliefs about addiction, and factors such as political ideology strongly influenced ideology. This highlights that public messaging interacts with broader social identities and belief systems rather than operating independently of them. Also, according to Whipple and colleagues 2025, researchers often distinguish among three major approaches in stigma reduction campaigns: educational strategies that provide accurate information, contact-based strategies that foster empathy through personal stories, and advocacy-based strategies that mobilize communities and initiatives. Campaigns that combine all three tend to be most effective, particularly when messages are repeated over time and delivered through trusted networks. Overall, the research suggests that public and governmental campaigns can influence knowledge, attitudes, and sometimes behavior, but their efforts are uneven and context-driven. Messaging alone cannot overcome drivers of overdose, such as poverty, criminalization, toxic drug supply, limited access to treatment, and stigma. What these campaigns ultimately reveal is that overdose is not just a medical issue. It's a storytelling issue. Every poster, advertisement, and public service announcement tells a story about who people who use drugs are and what caused their situation and what society believes should happen to them. Some stories emphasize compassion and collective responsibility. Others reinforce fear, blame, or exclusion. And because these narratives shape public opinion, they also shape policy decisions, funding priorities, and the willingness of communities to support treatment efforts. Understanding public and governmental campaigns, then, requires looking beyond their stated goals to examine whose voices are amplified, whose experiences are ignored, and what broader worldview they promote. In the end, these campaigns are not just attempts to change behavior. They are attempts to define the meaning of drugs and overdose in the public imagination. Thank you so much for listening to the ASTIT podcast. We love hearing from you, so if you have comments, topics to suggest, or some science you'd like us to cover in a future season, please write to me, Danielle Rudes at Sam Houston State University. My email is drudes@shsu.edu. And of course, thank you to the Justice Community Overdose Innovation Network, JCOIN's Coordination and Translation Center, funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, housed at George Mason University, where this podcast originated. Thank you to our fabulous scriptwriter team and also my fabulous doctoral students at Sam Houston State University, Bryce Kushmerik-McCune, Jalen Magana, and Alexa Mata. And a huge and a heartfelt thank you to the team at Slonky LLC for their wonderful podcast production as always. Tune in again soon for another episode of ASTIT.